Okay, I'm hoping that the sound quality is good enough on here for you to hear me. Because now I'm in public and I'm in Ubud, Bali, which is where I've spent the last 2.5 weeks deeply immersed in an initiation into love. And it feels like a really potent time and experience to share with you. Terima kasih. Thank you. And the beautiful thing about this experience is that it's cracked me open in ways I couldn't have even imagined. And I'm in the wondering now the preparation of returning home. So this is kind of a perfect time to really tune in and offer my transmission. First, an item of love. Look at how beautiful this is. It's a smoothie bowl. I've had a lot of heat in my body, and so cooling things have felt so good for me while I'm here. So this experience of love, this seeking that we all seem to have for love, it's both universal and it's so personal. I'm reminded often about Buddhism, and Thich Nhat Hanh talks about the concept of the original fear and the original desire. And that's really born out of the space of being birthed into this human experience, whether you believe in reincarnation or how that works. But we start in source, we start in oneness. And then when we are born into this human body, there's an immediate experience of fear and desire. So the fear is that we'll never return, we'll never get that experience of unification back. So the fear of loss, basically, of love. And the original desire exists within that. And they exist within each other, which is that desire for reunification, for remembering. And that's a really important word, because it is always there. It's not like we actually are separated, even upon our birth. It's just that there's this human experience, this shift into physical form, where we're gifted this opportunity to learn in these fractals, in these different ways, in these emanations of divine. We get to experience ourselves. It's divine getting to experience what life is like through the human form. And so it's just really beautiful to kind of go into that space of love. This has been a portal, an initiation into love like nothing I've ever been in before. To such a degree that, the forgetting piece of it feels almost impossible. And yet I have a willingness to forget again. And that's a teaching I learned from Byron Katie. I took her 9-day school for the work, and I remember she's just this beautiful awakened being. She had this moment of clarity where she was laying on the floor in such pain, and she saw a cockroach crawling across the floor, and something just cracked open. And in that moment, she was so fully alive. It was this process of inquiry was birthed in and through her. And her work is called The Work, if you're looking for deeper exploration there. And so what she shared is, I haven't forgotten yet, but I'm willing. I'm willing to. And that playfulness immediately allows us to hold it gently. And it actually points to the reason that we close. So we close when there's resistance or clinging. That original fear that I was talking about is really birthed out of the forgetting. It's this moment of forgetting that happens, that, oh, this feels different. Does that mean I'm no longer love? Does that mean I'm no longer God? Does that mean I'm no longer, oneness? And so there's so many different ways that I've been shown, and largely because I posed that question, like, show me love today. Show me how love exists in my space. And at first, I will tell you that my heart was very closed and very uncomfortable because I was afraid that if I opened to it, it would mean the ending of all of the things familiar in my life. And I didn't know what would be on the other side of it. And one of the biggest fears that showed up for me is like, in the losing of these things, I would lose myself. Isn't that funny? And not just the self that, like, the pure self. I was afraid that I would lose everything that felt okay, and I thought that I would lose my mind. Like, I would not be okay. And I know, like, from this perspective now where I am, that almost is like super humorous, because of course I'm going to lose my mind. Like, how beautiful is that? And of course I'm going to lose things as they were. And how beautiful is that? But when you're afraid of losing yourself and not knowing if you'll be okay, that's like stepping out into the void. That's like jumping before you have a parachute. That's like moving into a space of complete unknowing, and without yet having the direct experience of the knowing, of like really being in the fullness of what love is. And yet, there's this longing, right? That original desire, there's this longing, there's this knowing that it exists. And beyond just existing, it's like our mission is to be in it, to remember it, to share it. And maybe some won't experience that in this lifetime, and that makes me sad. Not because it isn't true, not because they aren't already it, but because maybe there's just such a block in terms of that. Yeah. And I've had these experiences before where I've remembered and then I just went into a really long forgetting. So I'm coming out of a long forgetting. And maybe we be gentle with ourselves in that, and maybe we remember that that's part of it too, that that's like an essential component to it. And so the willingness to forget is important. And so there are a couple of things that feel really important to like anchor in right now. And one, like, the metaphor of water has been really powerful for me in this understanding, this knowing of love, this being in love. And so I'll share a little bit about that. So if you can imagine, like, we exist within a sea of love. It's not something that is a direct product of me or of you. It's not something I need to get from you or you get from me, or something I can even give. We exist within the sea of love. And so no wonder we forget, because sometimes you don't really realize that you are what you're in. It's like a drop in the ocean, right? Forgetting that they are the ocean until you can fully dissolve into it. And and I believe this, like, I almost imagine this human experience, and this is courtesy of my friend Lauren, as being like almost like this physical form rising up out of the ocean to experience a different form. And so you're still like connected to the ocean, you're still part of it, but you're just experiencing a different form and a different way of being. And that brings me to the piece about relationship that is very profound and quite confronting, which is, so if relationship isn't about giving and receiving love, what is it? Like, what's the purpose? And, it's definitely still something I'm exploring. And what I had this beautiful, I'll speak to this first and it will weave in. So I had this beautiful experience in a Tantra workshop where we sat, motorbikes, we sat with our eyes closed, and we opened our arms, breathing in, opening to love, exhale, receiving love. We did this for 10 minutes about. My arms were tired by the end. And then actually at some point I just dropped my arms and pretended imagined, experienced it. And so the love that you're receiving is like from the universal field. It's from the sea of love. It's everything that we're in. And from that place where we open to love, we experience it as like a fullness. Try it. It's a beautiful experience. And if your heart is still quite closed, you might not feel it to the depths, but it's there and it's a beautiful practice. And then the next part of the exercise was we sat across from another person and we had our eyes open. We were gazing at them like with soft focus. And the important part here was not to lose ourselves in giving and receiving. So not even to focus on that, but simply to be in the experience of opening and receiving love from that universal field, right? So to being in love. And just notice that phrasing, because that's important. So being in the experience of love, receiving love fully, but not giving or receiving with another person in the sense that like you're taking from me, I'm taking from you. There's something missing in me, there's something missing in you. It's like you're just in the experience together. You get to experience this moment together. And so you can do this also with yourself in a mirror. Right, where you're not necessarily giving or receiving to yourself even, but you're simply being in and being witness to the experience of love. So circling that back around, imagine in relationship that there's nothing missing in you. So you come together, there's nothing missing, you get to be in the experience of the witnessing of each other in love. And when one forgets, when one or both forget, you get to be this beautiful vessel of remembering. Now, here's the tricky part. Because if you haven't yet resourced that or like anchored that remembering in yourself, it's going to feel painful. So the way that the other person will show up and the people that you'll attract into that experience are going to be the teachers of that forgetting. In order for you to experience the pain and discomfort of separation so much that you'll be asked to return to love, right? And one of the things that, I've been experiencing, that I've been noticing is like, okay, so if it's all love, like, why not just be by myself, like out in the middle of the woods? And of course, like I can be in that experience of love and happy in and of myself. And there's like this beautiful play of the forgetting and the remembering and the being in the experience of sharing and being witnessed to. That's really powerful and profound. And the creation that comes from that space is really beautiful. So the co-creation as well as the individual creation and just that individual expression and experience of being in that feeling of that unique experience of the waters, right? The seas as coming up and into this human form. So you get to be that fractal. You get to offer this gift to divine. And then, once you become a transmission for love in this way, you get to become that channel. So it's not about you giving or receiving. You're simply a clear channel for love. And if that isn't the truest form of purpose, I don't know what is. Like that is it. So all of this weaves back to, okay, so who am I? Why am I here? And I'm sure you've heard this a million times. It's like, well, yeah, I'm love. I'm here to give love. But like, really, like, you are the ocean of love, right? Experiencing itself in a unique way. And your purpose here is to be a clear channel of love, to forget and remember as many times as it takes to be that clear channel. And then in that experience, in the witnessing and the engaging and the forgetting and all of those pieces, they're all holy. So to have reverence for that. And then be in the experience of creation, like, holy, like, how incredible is it that we get to engage in this way? It's just really important. It's important. It's this anchor that exists, and once you've touched it, once you've felt it, and of course you've touched it and felt it before, but you start to trust in the unknown. You start to step off of that ledge. You start to build your parachute on the way down. And yes, sometimes it means that relationships end, and sometimes it means that you look at your life and wonder, how the fuck did I build this life of forgetting? This life that is a product of my forgetting. Because once you see that, you can't exist in that space anymore. So whether things need to shift or change, which is why I think that fear is so strong at the beginning, because you know what's coming, right? Your ego self, like that part of self that is so identified with it, is like, oh shit, like I'm gonna have to make, like there's gonna be a reckoning. There's gonna be a reckoning. And I don't know if I have the energy or the time or whatever for that. And like, am I going to hurt people? That was the one that kept coming up for me. And it was just another lie that my ego is telling me, because there's no hurting another person in that way. Like when you're in that space of love, you're a pure channel of love. Like, of course, in my forgetting, of course. But in my remembering, yeah, like there's the gift of the remembering, the gift of being that clear channel is others might experience things as hurt, but when I'm in truth, when I'm in, excuse me, I still have a cold. When I'm in that place of being in love, like being in love, it's really an experience that I bring to everything. I bring it to endings. I bring it to beginnings. I bring it to creation. I bring it to everything. So I can hold that with gentleness. And my medicine really is this medicine of heart and vision. So like to hold it with such love and tenderness and care and devotion, and to be more committed and honoring of the future than of the past. There's like, that's a whole other video. So I think I'll leave that one there for another time, but it's important. It's very important. Okay, that feels complete. And I really want to go eat my breakfast, which just looks so beautiful still. Sending you so much love and so many blessings.